Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a reading for Virgo rising signs, or if you have significant Virgo placements in your chart and are needing a neutral energy to help harmonize masculine and feminine energies within yourself, then this reading is for you. So Virgo, let's get started here with the bottom of the deck, the overall context. Here you have Arvel Parrot. This is a card about communication and the necessity for clear communication. I feel like, because this is the overall context and the cards that are starting off your reading are talking about that, I feel like you may also be receiving sort of like different forms of communication. There's been like a theme in the recent readings about sort of like learning a new language, so it could be something associated with that, not necessarily like an actual language, but like the ways in which we communicate with others, or communicate with spirit, or whatever you want to, however this relates to you. There are many different ways that this can apply, but I feel like this is talking about like some form of new communication is kind of what's coming through. So that's the overall context. The first couple cards we have here, so we have, it'll be the Retriever, the Nightingale, and the Mother of Cups. So this it'll be the Retriever. I went back to the guidebook for each of the decks that I'm using, because these are all decks that I've had for a really long time, but I haven't read the actual descriptions in a while, so I went back. It may be something like that, like going back to like the guidebook, or reading, maybe like reading the instructions on something, right? Like having to learn something again is kind of what's coming through here with It'll Be the Retriever. This card actually talks about having misplaced something, and this is the fairy that sort of like takes things that can potentially be lost and sort of puts it in a place for safekeeping. Something for safekeeping, and it's coming out with the Nightingale and the Mother of Cups. And this Nightingale talks about the throat chakra, again with the communication, right? So both of these cards are talking about communication today, and it's like there's something here about like, I don't know if you have like a lot, like it's coming through as like what you're speaking, or like because this Nightingale card talks about speaking from the heart, and expressing emotion as well, especially with the Mother of Cups coming out underneath. It's an expression of emotion, especially through music. So it could be something like something that you perhaps misplaced, or like put aside, or something, and it's like it was put aside, or I don't want to use the word lost, but maybe like you lost something, or you misplaced something, or something that you loved perhaps was put aside for some reason, and it's kind of coming through as like for safekeeping, or like it. Anyways, I'm just going to leave it like that. If that resonates with you, I feel like you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like there's something here that was put aside or misplaced for safekeeping, but it kind of feels like it's coming, like there's something coming back to you here with the It'll Be the Retriever. Something is coming back to you, or that you're just finding that thing again. It could be something like finding your voice, or finding some aspect of like an emotional expression that's really important to you, or something like that. Anyways, we have here next Solace and the Peacock. So this Solace card talks about manifesting reality in a significant way, right? Like taking all the information that you have and sort of bringing it into the physical reality in some way, in a very tangible and practical way. So it's kind of like this bridge between the spiritual and the physical. That's what this card represents. And with the Peacock, this talks about like easily digesting all sorts of spiritual experiences. which is interesting, because I always talk about this as being like receiving a lot of information, right? Like, but being able to understand it and assimilate it and integrate it in a really significant way. And it's coming out underneath this, you have the Seven of Cups, which I feel like is, this card talks about sort of like in the traditional tarot has all of the different options in the cups, right? Like different choices perhaps, or like understanding. I sometimes see this card as like, why are you picking the things that you're picking? Or like, why are you what's the true motivation behind the things that you're doing, right? That kind of thing. So it could have something to do with that, where it's like, because you understand and accept yourself and who you are and all of this, you're able to manifest important things. Like it kind of feels like things are shifting very rapidly for you, because you're able to assimilate and understand all of the experiences that you may be going through, right? It's kind of feeling like that. There is this kind of like energy here where you may be experiencing. So first of all, you have these two cards, which I absolutely love together, the Fairy Godmother and the Unicorn. So the Fairy Godmother talks about grace, right? Like a moment of grace that's given to you freely. The phrase that was coming through the guidebook was a conspicuous miracle, right? Like something miraculous, perhaps coming in to just sort of like shift the energy, because that's very much what the next card is showing, and how the cards are showing up on the table here. It's like there's something here about like a very conspicuous miracle. It's very difficult to ignore, especially with the unicorn. This unicorn is, of course, the third eye, which is talking about intuition, but it was like, I feel like there was perhaps a moment here where your faith or your intuition or something like that was wavering a little bit, is kind of how it's feeling. And that happens for everyone, like perhaps not trusting in yourself, or there was like a moment of like, am I doing the right thing? Am I listening to my intuition? Or like what is the motivation for what it is that I'm doing, right? Like that, it's that kind of like, maybe you had like a moment of doubt about what it was that you were going towards, especially with the card coming out underneath here is the rabbit. So this card talks about, it is anxiety, but it's also kind of like, when you're worried about something, right? Like if you're worried about, in the guidebook, it talks about like an eagle swooping down, right? If you're worried about that, the more that you engage those thoughts of worry, the more likely it is to happen. That's sort of what this card is talking about. So it's kind of like if you're focused on the potentially negative outcomes that can happen, it's like that, it makes it more likely for that to happen. That's what this card talks about. And because it's coming out under this, it's kind of like the Fairy Godmother energy is coming in to sort of like shift this energy, because you don't want to be in this aspect. Like it's kind of, and it's also kind of coming through as like, because I just had this experience right before this where I let my dog out into the backyard and then he chased after a rabbit, and it was like this energy of like something that you don't wish to happen. That's like kind of like it's like a very rare occurrence, but there is still a possibility of it happening. And there's like, I feel like maybe you've been focusing too much on that, is kind of how it's coming through. Like this is the energy that's wanting to shift, because that's what this is coming through as, right? It's like there's something else here about the unicorn, about like a miracle, or it's like those moments where like it's it feels like a coincidence, right? It's like there's no way that that could have been a synchronicity, right? Like it's kind of like something like that where it's like maybe there's something that you're experiencing that feels like a coincidence, but it's not. It's absolutely not. It's trying to encourage you to like step out of this energy, which is sort of like the worry, and trust more in your intuition about what it is that you're receiving, perhaps, right? It's like whatever this moment is for you, where it's like experiencing some sort of like conspicuous miracle where it's trying to shift your perspective. I feel like that's the aim of whatever this communication is. Whatever this thing is that's happening is trying to shift your perspective to trust in your intuition more, or believe in the impossible, or just accepting that miracles happen on a daily basis. That's sort of what's coming through, because the gotcha card is coming out next. And this is sort of an energy of like a surprise, a sudden shock, like something that's like came out of nowhere, but has a lot of lasting consequences. So there are things here though, where it's like most of the examples that came through this card are like negative shocks, right? Like things where it's like you get completely blindsided by something and it sort of like ruins your whole day. But I feel like because of the cards that are coming out next, whatever it is that this shock is, it's almost flipping. It's like a significant turning point from like whatever this sort of like worry or doubt or feeling like you can't express what it is that you're trying to express. And it shifts into something completely new with this. Whatever this moment is for you, because the cards that I'm seeing out here, like underneath this card, are the High Priestess and the Fool. So the High Priestess, all of the cards on this side of the High Priestess were sort of like this dark energy and all sort of facing this way. So I feel like this is talking about the worry or the thing that was lost, whatever that represents to you. It's like there was, I don't know what that thing that was lost is for you, but it's like whatever that thing that was lost is, it's like shifted your focus this way, where it's like you're perhaps doubting your intuition. But these two cards are like very strong intuitive energies. So I feel like you have a lot of intuitive guidance. It's kind of just like maybe there's just a bit of worry or a momentary sort of wavering where you're doubting perhaps like what it is that you're receiving. But it's kind of like this moment, whatever this like sudden shock is that it completely flips the energy. It's a complete flip because of this like miraculous moment, whatever that is for you. It could even be just like a really strong synchronicity, right? Like something that's just like it feels incredibly like a coincidence, because for it not to be a coincidence would be incredibly like magical, right? It's like, is that even possible kind of energy with the unicorn? Like, is that even possible? I don't know. But anyway, what's interesting, what's coming out underneath these, if you just look at the colors, right? The High Priestess is focused on this sort of Five of Pentacles energy. And then you have it flipping into the Fool and the Three of Cups. Because I feel like with the Three of Cups, this is talking about joy and bounty and like harvesting some sort, like harvesting joy, right? Like just perhaps like significant friends, right? With the Three of Cups, there may be like, that might be where you're experiencing this sort of like significant shift where it's like you're spending time with friends, and it's like perhaps it doesn't even have to be something like very outrageous, but it kind of just feels like well, no, but the gotcha card is that, right? It's like it's a sudden shock. It's completely unignorable. Like, you cannot ignore whatever this sign is or whatever this like significant shift is for you. And perhaps it happens when you're sort of like just relaxing with friends, because the Fool is such a fresh kind of energy compared to the High Priestess, right? Because the High Priestess, especially in this deck, talks about like having a lot of past experiences that dictate how we move forward in life. Like, I'm just gonna leave it like that. Whereas the Fool's kind of like fresh, like a fresh new start, and it's happening like this, suddenly. So the next card out here, you have the Laum and List of the Shadows. So this Laum talks about giving and receiving, sort of the balance between giving and receiving, because I feel like there's something here about like something being rebalanced in terms of what has been given and what has been received, that kind of thing. Because this card always talks to me about like perhaps feeling like you've been giving to the point of perhaps like it's draining you, or if you're not giving enough, it's like you're holding on to too much, and it kind of feels like this energy of like constrained or constricted, right? So it's kind of like if one of those two aspects are not in balance, the universe sort of comes in to balance that. So it's kind of like whatever this situation is a rebalance of perhaps this energy here with the Five of Pentacles and the Rabbit, like worried about material wealth perhaps, because the next card out after that you have is the Father of Pentacles, which is really interesting. Because it's like you're going from the Five of Pentacles, which typically talks about like loss of resources, right? Into the King of Pentacles, who is incredibly stable and secure and has a lot to give, right? So there's kind of like a shift happening there. So I don't know if this is somebody else, but it's kind of coming through as being like maybe you're just getting an idea here with the gotcha card, an idea about like a new business or something, or like what to do next, or like how to manage your resources or whatever. It's like you're getting some sort of idea or intuition about that, of like how to start something new, or like a new beginning in some way. You're getting some sort of intuition about that that's like aligning you with something, because you do have the Two of Wands coming out next. Like, it's incredible how much the energy shifts in these cards, right? Like going from Three of Cups, the Two of Wands, all of this color is coming back into your energy is kind of how it's coming through here, which is really lovely. It kind of feels like you're aligning to some sort of vision now. Because after this shift happens, it's like you know what it is that you need to do, or like this card was coming through as like an entrepreneur, like somebody who like perhaps you're getting like a new business idea or something like that. But it has something to do with this, the Laum, about like what you're able to give, because I feel like there's something here with the List of the Shadows. This card talks about sort of, so I always talk about this card as being like breaking through patterns that we have. It also talks about like being out in the field, because I feel like there's something here about like, because this character, the List of the Shadows, she is a fairy who sort of goes out and comforts those who are in need, like people who are battling addiction, and sort of like comes through with an energy of like a social worker. And one of the lines was like, would you be like, it's like she's not in an office, right? She's not in an office. She's not like in whatever. She's out in the field, like out in the streets, like doing the work that she needs to do, whatever that is, like helping people. And I feel like there's something here about like maybe that's related to what it is that you're doing. And it's interesting because it's coming out with the vulture, which talks about like purification of energies. And it's also coming through as being like this is a job that not a lot of people would choose to do. It's a very difficult job, but someone has to do it. I don't know if that's free, like, so that might be part of what it is that you're moving towards, but it's an area that I feel like you would be very comfortable, is kind of how it's coming through. And it could even just be like I feel like it's something that's where you would be comfortable, but perhaps not everybody would be comfortable in that position. I don't know what that is for you. That's going to depend on each person. It's something like there's energy here that needs to be cleaned up in some way. I don't know how that relates, but it's also coming out here with the Six of Swords, right? Which is interesting because it talks about hope, this card. Like hope at last, like finally seeing the rainbow after a difficult period. And I feel like, so there's going to be a significant shift for you happening where it's like, you're going to have an epiphany or some sort of sign that's very, very clear to you about like which direction you should be on, or what you should be focusing on, or whatever it is that's going to shift even how you see what it is that you're doing. Even if what you're doing is the same path that you've been on, even if it's the same path, right? Because here with the Two of Wands, it's like, I feel like you've already been going towards that. It's just kind of like there was a moment of doubt is kind of how it's feeling, or like feeling like you lost your connection maybe, or like your whatever, right? Like whatever it is. So even if you're still doing the same thing that you've been doing, it's like having a new perspective on that, because it's you're actually the King of Pentacles is kind of how it's coming through. You're the King of Pentacles, and yet you've been sort of focused on this energy, feeling like you've lost something, when it's like, no, you haven't lost it. It's kind of like it was put away for safekeeping temporarily, but it's like you're returning to some aspect of like your stability is kind of how it's coming through. And then finally, which I love to end the reading, you have here the Eight of Pentacles, which talks to me about like a divine purpose, right? Like your work, the things that you're supposed to be doing. And the Three of Wands, and then at the bottom of the deck, which I didn't talk about, was the zebra, because I wanted to show it together like this, because it's like you have some sort of vision, or you are a visionary, or you have a very strong connection to your intuition, or like what it is that you should be doing. Is kind of just like bringing that into the physical in some way. And I feel like that just I feel like if you haven't had this already, it's gonna be this sort of like almost like a miraculous moment of understanding or grace or confirmation that's gonna allow you to move forward. This is a lovely combination. It talks about creativity as well. I feel like you're going to be creating something really prosperous and really stable and abundant. So Virgo, I'm going to end it there. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. It helps so much. Thank you for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great night. Bye.